You know, because sometimes there's something special to a fighter who has they know that their purpose is to fight, but what's their why or reason is another thing. So my purpose is to fight, but my reason is because blank. And like, I can name a few, but me and some teammates have a common denominator of we lost our father young.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that plays a part in someone who wants to maybe like be tougher or prove that they're tough, like or maybe their dad like was known to fight and they want to prove that they can too, and
Mm-hmm.
that plays a part in their life, their story. There's a guy who just fought in the UFC who won. I need to remember his name so I can give him credit from now on. But he said he started crying and he said everything you see in this cage is 1% of a fighter's story. He said 2 weeks ago, or no, he said 4 weeks ago. So in an 8-week camp, which is normal, halfway through this dude's camp, his wife loses what would have been their first baby.
Damn.
And to still fight. Some people might pull out. Some people might be like,
fair enough.
some wives or girlfriends might be like, no way you're gonna fight. Are you serious? And then all it takes for the guy is to hear that, to be like, I shouldn't, even if they want to still.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people would not be fighting in that situation had they been in the same, his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And here that dude is standing, fighting, and wins. And then just starts crying.
Yeah.
And he's like he probably doesn't think about the money at that point. He probably doesn't think about the sponsors. He's probably not thinking about anything except for like
Just kid.
like this. Maybe not even a kid, but the idea of like I made it through it. Like I actually it's over. Like that happened, and then this just happened. Like that is so much emotion and stuff, and like people at home just watching for entertainment, right? Don't even know unless he said something.
Mm-hmm.
And not that he shouldn't say anything. You have the mic's yours,
Mm-hmm.
free range. Yeah, say it. Get some more people to believe in you and be like, damn, this dude's like legit. Because to just go through all that, right? It's not like no one walks an easy road, but this dude just had that happen too.
And to keep going to camp,
Yeah.
I would. This is just my guess that you would have to push down so much emotion, right? It's that common theme of when you're competing, you wake up, doesn't matter what you feel like doing. It's like you gotta put your miles in, you gotta go get your training in, and there's an amount of like repressing emotion I imagine you gotta do to get that done, and to have that happen after a huge tragedy like that, all that like holding it back, and then just open the floodgates. Like I did it, like you said, just I can fucking let my hair down now. Finally,
Yep.
Hickson Gracie was. You know the guy who's like the Gracie Hunter, the Gracie Slayer?
Yeah, it was a Japanese jiu-jitsu guy, right?
Yeah. So
I don't know. I couldn't name him.
I forget his name too, but so Hickson was like well renowned to be the best fighter in the Gracie family, yada yada. And he's at his prime, his peak. He just won the biggest fight of his life, and this guy calls him out, the Gracie Hunter. And like he's getting in the works, they're doing negotiations, and his son dies. And
Yeah.
he was at this crossroads, right? Because he grew up so much of his life with that stoic fighter mentality, right? Like you don't really show emotions. That's pretty weak. You like fucking put your backpack on, you get to rucksack, and you get your grind going.
Yeah.
You're a fucking warrior, a soldier. You fight. But when that happened, he knew he could like put all his focus into the fight, and that he could get through this pain by doing that. But he felt like if he did that, he would have to leave his family behind. Like he wouldn't be able to be there for his family in the way that he felt was necessary if he just put all his focus into my coping is going to be my training, essentially. And he did kind of the opposite. He opened himself up to be extremely vulnerable, feel deep sadness. And he said for years he was in this deep, deep depression. And he kind of just described it as he held on to this rock and allowed himself to sink, which is so weird that he allowed himself to sink. And he was there with his family. They would cry, like come together, kind of like a nest. And he said whether I faced addiction, suicide, I was opening myself up to whatever this feeling would bring me towards. And he's like years down the line, he's thinking about something his dad used to say, that there's nothing is either entirely good or entirely bad. And he's like, what the fuck could possibly be good from this horrible thing that happened in my life? And eventually he comes to the realization, he made like a shrine for his son, and he would go and sit and meditate there, and he was hit with it one day. He's like, oh shit, if my daughter used to call me when I was on the way to work and she's like crying and she has this problem, I would like kind of answer, but my mind would still be on, all right, make sure I get the flight and get to this Japanese promotion event, yada, yada. But he said, now this gave me perspective on what really is the most important to me in life. And so if I'm driving to this Japanese event, my daughter calls me, I pull over, put all my focus into this. And if I miss the event, fuck it, I missed the event. He said, now his days are like really tight. There's no loose ends. And it's just,
Wow.
yeah.
That's like the opposite of what me and Chris were talking about on my podcast in the car, which was like, he made some ultimates. I'm not going to say it without him being here, but he made some really great sacrifices to become an amateur champion that I extremely respect. And I told him it sets a new standard for what sacrifice means to become a champion or to be successful, right? In something you love. And that upsets some people if they don't understand, right? Or they can't relate. But you have to be willing to push through that and just do some like ultimate sacrifice stuff, right? For yourself. And he told me a long time ago, he said, I've learned a lot from Chris in this sport. And he's like a year older than me, but he's almost like 20 years older than me in the MMA world. And he was like, you have to be selfish in this sport way more often than others. Like this sport, like when it comes time, is like the fight's about me, the training's about me, the diet's about me. I cut 20 pounds, me. Because in that moment in the cage, it's only me, right? You have a team, but they're staying outside of it. No one's in there with a bat to save you. So
with the bat,
yeah, because that's what it'll take sometimes.
Yeah.
But that is a beautiful way to look at the other side of the coin. And I think what it does is it reminds me, like, yeah, how important other things are in life too. We get stuck on this one thing. When you're in the military, it's like, this is it. The military and my objective of completing my mission to win the war is the most important thing. When you're a police officer, it's like, this today, everything I do in it could be a life or death situation, and it's the most important thing. And we have to come back and do it tomorrow, right? Day shift, night shift, whatever. When you're a doctor, you can apply that. When you're anything, people get stuck in this tunnel vision of like, this is it. And you tend to see repercussion in family life, right? With like miscommunication or lack of communication with wife or husband. Not talking to the kids often, not connecting in a lot of different ways, not understanding. Kids just think their dad's being an asshole half the time. Dads think their kids are being like ungrateful. Women think wives think their husband's being, selfish. It's just like this weird dynamic that's very common. And it's all due to something like that. Like, I think his name, you didn't say a name, but Sakuraba.
The Gracie Hunter, Sakuraba.
Sakuraba Gracie Hunter? So this all happened to him?
No, this happened to Hickson.
Oh, this happened to Hickson. Okay. Well, that's, and he ended up not doing the fight, or he did do the fight?
Nah, he was just like,
yeah,
I'm gonna didn't do the fight.
That was his focus. That's a crazy thing, because I don't right now, as 25-year-old Sam, I don't picture myself letting Sammy the Bull not go fight. You know what I mean? In anything that happens between now and a professional championship. But as I get older and deeper in the sport and like maybe more mature, or even sooner than that, whatever, that can change, right? It can become more of the Hickson mindset of like, no, this is way more important, right? But I'm just a big believer in like, you can't help others till you help yourself. And I'm trying to create something that can help my family, like we talked about last time. I want to be able to be like, here's a new car to my little sister or something like that, like some big, right, that most people can never do with a day job. And that's going to take some sacrifice, if you have to miss some things to include birthdays, weddings, and funerals. Sometimes people have to, man, because if you don't, your opponent will.
Yeah.
And me and Chris talked about that. If you don't take his soul, as dramatic as that sounds, you don't crush that dude's soul, crush his dreams. He goes to bed at night dreaming of being an amateur or a UFC champion and holding a belt, and he wakes him up in the morning. He works hard, and then you have to go in there and be like, "Sorry, I know you have this too. I know you have this dream, but like I'm going to try and break it. I'm going to try and take it from you." Well, they'll do that if you happen to have a family member who passed away as well. Like, right? Like, we don't know each other's stories before we step in the cage, nor do we care. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
Like, we're here to fight. I'm here to beat your ass. And afterwards, maybe over a beer, win or lose, we can learn about each other's lives. We could probably be each other's best training partners, something along those lines one day. But right here, right now, no one cares. No one cares what we had to go through. And that's a tough analogy for life, right? Because your bosses ain't gonna like care if you had like a rough day yesterday with the wife. Like, maybe more different depending on like the company and industry you're in. Maybe.
But like, let's say the customer at a Walmart or something, like, I need this product for, I don't know, for my kid's birthday or something, and the person who was shipping it to me, their wife passed away, so they couldn't get it. It's like, that's horrible for you, but like,
it was supposed to get here today.
Yeah.
yeah. It's and that's the way the world operates, generally speaking.
Sometimes, yeah, man.
Compassion is important. Compassion is very, very important. But it has its place in time.
Especially when you're going to war against somebody else. Like, literally, in war just meaning I'm putting all of myself against all of you. And if I leave anything on reserve, that could be that 1% that would have pushed me to victory.
Yeah. And there, there's videos of, like, let's say people running a race against each other, and someone stumbles and falls before the finish line. And the second place person is like looking at the finish line and looking at the person, and they know the right thing to do is pick the person up and get them over the finish line because they were going to win. There's no analogy for that in fighting. There's no correlation.
Fighting, you like kick them and keep running.
In fighting, it's like you're standing there and dude throws a kick, and as he steps back, rolls his ankle, i.e. Connor.
You can't
That's
hesitate
a part of
for
the
a
sport.
fucking second. Yeah.
What if I thought he rolled his ankle and I'm like, "Oh, are you okay?" And then he just Superman punches the shit on my jaw.
Yeah.
Well, that's on me. I'm an idiot. I lost. I was trying to be nice, right? So it has its place in time, but not. They're saying all fair in love and war. Well,
yeah.
Like, kick that ankle.
Yeah.
Kick that ankle 10 times. Homeboy will probably tap. And then afterwards, you can be like, "Sorry, man. Had to take the ankle."
And if maybe if he truly understands the fight and like the fight game, he'll be like,
"Yeah,
I understand."
I was just gonna say, you telling me after you kick my ankle 10 times, like, good choice.
Literally.
Good choice.
Like, do you want the gold or
I
not?
know you wanted it. Yeah. Because if you didn't, I was gonna try and kick you with it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Oh man, you ever watch Dragon Ball Z growing up?
I didn't. Everybody asks me like, "Oh, did you watch Dragon Ball Z?" And like now, like, how do you not watch it? You're on the fighting.
No, fair enough, but that just makes me think of this weird other part of the fight game. The main character, Goku, he is fucking like notorious for they're about to beat the bad guy. And he'll give them a room to breathe or like recharge because he's like, no. More than anything else, even to a fault, I want to fight you at your most powerful.
That's it, yeah.
Which is a weird other part of the game, but nah, I can get... Because as you're talking about that, I'm thinking of... Let's see if I can wrap this together. In World War I, did you ever hear of the Christmas story?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, the people are on trench warfare. Christmas comes, and some ridiculous how, some way, the Germans and I think it was the English stop fighting. Not only do they stop fighting, they fucking play soccer. They're giving each other
in
gifts.
No Man's Land, which is like a territory where, there would be crossfire, like it's nobody's territory.
Yeah,
and then they go out and do that as like a celebration for the holidays, right? Some common human bond.
After they were just killing each other endlessly for like, and then to think when the higher ups heard about it, they're like, we need to put a fucking stop to this now, or else the whole war could go asunder if this mindset spreads. So they essentially like pressure, from what I understand, pressure the troops to get back to fighting. And to think like, damn, man, I was just shaking hands with that guy. I just got to know about his kids
Yeah.
and gave him a beer and gave him, I don't know, like a Christmas present, played soccer with him. But
Yeah, back to it.
back to it. For whatever reason, it's more important to fight right now and to
Yeah.
accept that. Oh, that's such a strange part of life and of combat and of war. To know, like, if I was in that guy's shoes, I'd probably be doing the same thing that he's doing. Like, I'd probably see myself as the devil right now if I was in that guy's
Yeah.
shoes. And maybe he has justified reasons, but I do too.
Yeah,
And
everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody does in like a war scenario, and what was I going to say about that? So, and that's why I love fighting. Like, my life is obviously kind of war based, being Marine Corps and fighter, but I like fighting, cage fighting, as in me versus you, because I know my reasons. This is for me, and that
Mhm.
it took me a little while to realize, like, it's not for anything else. Oh, knock this over. It's not for anything else. There's no extra stuff I have to put on top of this. It's not for heritage or history or any like. This is for me. It's for me, and I love being here, and I know why I'm here. Right? When you're in a uniform fighting for a nation, like some people, sacrifice. They sign up. It's looked at as a very selfless thing, right? You're fighting for your country, but that means you're fighting for your country's best interest. You're fighting for your government's reasons, and you're fighting for some things you may not agree with, right? Not everybody in the military is Republican. Not everybody in the military is Democrat. Not everybody in the military is one or the other. So they have to have some conflicting beliefs and not agree with everything with each president that comes in, each party, that takes over.
Mhm.
But you're still there. You're still doing it. You're still fighting that war willingly, right? Without opinion, public opinion, for that cause, which might not be your own. So that's what they were going through, right? This individual Nazi shooting at the English in that scenario might have not. He might have just. He's like, this is what I had to do to survive. The English guy might have been like, I don't want to get
I got drafted.
If it's anything, or if it's anything like America, I got drafted. I didn't want to go to college.
Mhm.
Here I am, right? But I don't want to. I don't believe in Nazis. And the Nazis are just like, I was born in Germany, so I'm here. Much like we see with Russia today. So it's like, these poor guys, like these poor people, like at that time in that scenario, not even able to fight for what they want to, right? But that's why I love MMA, because I'm in there knowing, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Fighting for me, fighting for what I want to make out of my life, and what I just think is really, really fun. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Oh, that makes me think of. So before I fucked my leg up, I wanted to go into the military.
Okay.
And the main reason was like fun. It sounds so ridiculous and stupid having grown up a bit more, but fun. Like when I would see some of the military movies with the forces that I wanted to join in, I'm like, yes, that fucking like the heat of combat. Even the more realistic movies like Lone Survivor or something like that. Even as the guys are, do you ever see Lone Survivor?
Yep.
You know when the guy is like running out of ammo and he's up against the tree and he's using every last bullet as he's getting shot. He has like 5 bullets. Somehow, as I look at that, I'm like that. Like I want that.
Hollywood. God, what is it called?
Romanticizing.
Yes, the romanticizing of war. It gets a lot of us, and it got me too. I mean, growing up, I was like, I saw stuff like that, or like Rambo, and it's like you quickly realize you're no Rambo. But what I did realize, and you realize, like, not everybody gets to serve in the capacity of like a SEAL, right? Like a SEAL is like very highly specialized in multiple facets. Goes into close quarters combat in small groups. Like no, there's a 1% of people serve, right, our population, and then there's like a 1% of that are doing that shit.
That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to say you can't. Like,
no, yeah.
Like anybody can. Like, if you had tried at that time back then, you might have been fine. Maybe like, oh, I love it. You kick ass, take names, and end up in that role. But I think a lot of people had gotten into that mindset. But even even the definitely run a risk of ending up in a job that's not so fun, very administratively oriented. Where you're like, am I in the military? Like some people are not happy when they get that.
No.
And then you can have something that is not as high speed as SEAL, but really fun. Like I got lucky enough to be a leader of combat engineers, and these guys get to go out, right, and shoot guns, right? At least once a year they shoot their rifle. When you hit a certain rank, at least once a year you're shooting your pistol, so you're at least shooting here and there on the government's dime. And then they're doing stuff like machine gun ranges, so they're shooting machine guns. Demolition ranges, they're blowing up targets.
Nice.
Urban breaching, using C4 and det cord to blow up, doors, windows, different targets for entry. And it's like, that's the moments the guys go, this is fun. Like I got a fun job, and that's just one job. There's tons of different ones you can get, but so don't say it sounds stupid. It's fun. It can be a lot of fun. But much like any other job, if you talk to a police officer around here, they'll be like, my one buddy, he's like, man, I have so much fun. Love it. It's awesome. But then he can tell you some of the bullshit he deals with. So
that was a funny thing. I was listening to the Jocko podcast because I like to live vicariously through them sometimes.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, man, you have no idea how much fucking paperwork you do in the SEALs.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, he was an officer, so
yeah.
I know. I wrote like, at least probably right around 10 reports, if not more, just recently. And it's just like, oh, this is the not fun
This
part.
is not Rambo, yeah.
Yeah, this is not Rambo, but it is a part of the,
Yeah, and important too, right?
yeah. I mean, like everything has its there's a reason for everything, the way we do everything, and things work the way what's in place. But it's just it's not, some things. Most things I've realized in life that I've gotten into is like it's not all it's cracked up to be. And that even goes for MMA, because I think some people who, like, I had friends who wanted to be fighters as well that were quickly out of it when kind of like the guy telling the story and they were like, I'm a head out. Like, I had friends that were like, they might do jiu-jitsu for a couple months, striking for a little bit. Maybe they even do both and stick with it, but they quickly learn they're not going to fight in the cage. They're just not.
Like you really want to do this for day in, day out for years and years. Yeah,
and then they want to. Usually, they end up choosing lifting more consistently over, let's say, consistent jiu-jitsu, MMA, striking training. Because again, like we said inside, there's only so much time in a day, and when I find myself having run 4 miles with Chris, done jiu-jitsu class, MMA class. It's already 9 p.m. when I'm home and eating. I'm like, what else could I have done today? Back in one of my fight camps, there were days that I would run 3 miles with 30 pounds on our backs with Marines at 5 a.m., go to class, go home, take a nap, go to class, go to third class, go home, pack my stuff, go to 2 jiu-jitsu classes, and then stay for a wrestling class at 9 p.m., and when it came to fight camp time, I would find some time to run on the treadmill and sprint. Some days I'd swim after the ruck. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like but you can only do that for so long. I promise you, any Jocko you listen to, any David Goggins you listen to, any Cam Hanes you listen to, they are not doing it every day. They're doing something every day maybe, or a couple things, but they're not doing. I did 1,000 push-ups, swam a mile, ran 5 miles or 20 miles every day. No, the human body can't take it. I guarantee you. And that's what I was convinced when I was that age at that time. There's guys out there doing this every day, so I'm weak if I don't. Nah, dude, they ain't doing this every day. So like.
How do you know?
No, dude, trust me. Watch David Guy. You ask him to post every day 20 miles, 6 days in, that dude will be like, I can't walk. You know what I mean? Like the human body.
Yeah, I have been hearing on his more recent posts that there have been points where he's really close to just not being able to run anymore. Like he's having large amounts of fluid being drained from his knees very
I
often.
can see that. I mean, like, there's only so much human body can take, no matter who you are. So, like, for example, these guys do this crazy run. Oh man, I just had it in my head too. There's a crazy run called the something 100 or something like that, and it's like it's throughout these woods in some hill, like it's some hill area, like there's mountains and shit, and these dudes, like they run so much. I don't know, it might have been like hundreds of miles,
Mhm.
and it's only a certain number of people complete it every year. I'll look into it so I'm more knowledgeable. I just watched a little something on that,
Mhm.
and these people do all this prep work. They do it, but do you think if they did it, they'd be doing it again in the next month, or 2 months, or 3 months? No.
And then
like,
how many years could you, even if you somehow did that, how many years could you be doing that? How many
Yeah,
decades could you be doing
How
that?
many people return there, and how many years they return there? I'm guessing like 3, 4, 5. Like how many? There's no way humans doing that for like decades, right? So there's limits to things that we have to be careful what we believe online. Liver King is getting debunked by everybody right now.
I have heard him getting so much shit lately.
So much shit because it's true. Because it's true. You can't. Like, I respect the people who come on, look like him, and just go, "Aren't steroids great?" Just be honest.
Mhm.
Just say it. But he gets so much money. It's all online money from people. Even these episodes of like different things trying to debunk him. He's getting money from it. He's getting, if nothing else, he's getting publicity. His name thrown around, so people are buying in. He's just way too big. It's gotten too big.
No publicity's bad publicity, sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly, but good or bad news is good news.
Mhm.
So
Getting me attention.
he's one example of, like, we have to be careful what we believe, right? Because you'll literally have like dudes, like younger guys, like trying to eat liver all day every day,
Mhm.
thinking and lifting, they're gonna get jacked, and they're just like on like a carnivore diet, eating one type of meat, and you're like, dude, you're gonna get so like unhealthy. So things like that, things like the diets, the amount someone works out, the amount someone's running. I think it's very hard to believe, even these big names that I've come to love and respect. I love David Goggins. I love Jocko. I love Cam Hanes. But even Jocko, at least, is real. And he was like, his whole motto is like, you ever hear him say, if you don't feel like working out today, just say you'll take off tomorrow. Work out today.
Mm-hmm.
So when tomorrow comes. And if you still come tomorrow, you're still like, this is bad,
Mm-hmm.
then do it.
Yes.
So you're telling me he does that.
Mhm.
He's realistic.
Yeah.
He's saying
that was one of the most beautiful things I heard from Goggins, that there are days where he said, man, many people think that every day I just get up and immediately put my shoes on and just start running. He's like, man, there are a lot of fucking days where I get up and I like look at the shoes,
Stare
go
at
do some
30
paperwork.
minutes.
Yeah, go do
Yeah.
some fucking paperwork for an hour, look at the shoes, go do some other sort of workout, look at the shoes. And he said, but I keep looking at the shoes. And eventually I put them on. But sometimes it could take like 2-3 hours of the day has gone by before I finally lace them up. And like, that was nice to hear.
Yeah, and who says he's even running the let's just say he's like, I have to go do this. I have to go run 10 miles, whatever it is. Who's saying he's doing it in a good time? He might be like, I just ran all these other days. Today I'm going to go 12-minute miles. You know how slow that is? It's like
Mhm. Yeah.
like a jog.
Just
like,
to walk to keep the momentum
just,
going.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes you can bounce one trick I learned is to bounce a tennis ball in front of you.
Mhm.
And
Just keep the mind
And
occupied.
if you can bounce a tennis ball, then you're going at a good enough speed to maintain like for a long distance.
Mm.
And that was like a long distance runner I saw on Instagram doing that. And it's like, who says he's not going at that speed, right? There's no way this dude's getting up, anybody, and running like 10 or 20, whatever they want to say, miles every day at 6-minute miles or less. No. No. I will pay to be able to drive and follow someone around for a week. Whoever claims they do that. And on day 4, when they're like, I do this every day. You're like, oh, you do? You keep doing it. You have 2 days left. It's become hard to believe, for certain. Because the internet has gotten so outrageous. We've seen more development in the last decade with like phones and internet and social media than we did like 100 years prior. Some stat I heard like that. It's like insane, right? From like 2010 to now has been the biggest boom than like ever before that.
And you have access to all these badasses on hand that you can constantly be giving you information on Instagram, this, that, and the other. And it does make me wonder, how much are people putting like these Hollywood-esque beliefs on what this person's capable of?
Yeah, me. I did it. I did it for so long because I grew up, like a lot of us at my age and younger, on watching people on social media and like to compare yourself to compare my fighting and athletic abilities to those of the like of John Jones, Conor McGregor, GSP. Like who, you know what I mean? Like, and basing your importance and like worth and like off of your abilities compared to theirs, and it became a big comparison game. These dudes are all more jacked than me. These people all have more money than me. These guys are better fighters and they're already in the UFC before me. These, you know what I mean? Just like comparison. I recently heard something that I have to remind myself of constantly, and it is comparison is the thief of joy, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's like, anytime you want to, and I heard that my whole life, don't compare yourself to others. Mm-hmm. But without comparison, there's no competition.
Yeah, there's a useful amount of it.
Yeah.
And then it's just when am I riding the wave? When can I make sure I'm on that perfect balance of, I'm not comparing myself to anyone. That's so weird because I don't know whether that's a good thing to do.
What's that? Not compare yourself to others?
Like, yeah, to never do that.
It's terrible to not do it, and it's terrible to do it too much. Because I'll tell you why. Because if we do it so little to the point where we become that like participation trophy, everybody's okay.
Yeah, especially in the fucking fight game.
like that's the worst society we can become. We're too weak. But if you as an individual want to say like, there's a lot of people who've committed suicide. There's like a documentary on Netflix going into young girls specifically, but young men as well, not to negate like that they can happen to them, but specifically young girls who were like growing up in this world that we have in the past 10 to 20 years, where it's like they just see celebrity after model after
Photoshop,
beautiful, perfect, from ass to face, gorgeous.
Yeah,
like she's perfect in every way, has money, followers, dudes knocking at the door, cars, and it's like...
And if I'm not that, I'm worthless.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, there's that for the young woman. Mm-hmm. For the young guy, it was everything. Like, basically, dude can take steroids, get jacked, look like Goku.
Gohan, but close. Yeah, you're good.
Gohan.
It's his son, yeah.
How's that his son?
Loser, how don't you know
that? Yeah. All right, well, Gohan here. And basically like half of it was steroids, the other half was Photoshop. Not saying people can't look like. Mm-hmm. There's dudes who are like
super jacked,
who are like what's it called? IBF, isn't it like IBFF or something? Pro bodybuilders, mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, legit, like you actually worked for that. But admit it, you're on steroids too. And these guys are the ones that just like are so engulfed in their professional like work, becoming a bodybuilder. They're like sculpting themselves,
and they're doing that professionally. And they're not really the ones on social media who are like posting like a TikTok, like saying like you're nothing if you like, you know what I mean, weird shit, like a young dude, right, like is, and like some young model. And anyway, it's created like this super toxic world where I know it affected me at some points in life. I know it affected a lot of other people. Personally, know people who it was affected. Mm-hmm. And, how many people have we lost due to this? And then during COVID time, especially when that all that craziness happened, and you still had Instagram and social media going on, mm-hmm. How much craziness, how much did that impact the youth coming up, right? Because I used to make a joke. This was like, let me see, I'm 25. This is like 8 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago now, that I was even able to make the joke. My cousins don't watch YouTube, or I'm sorry, my cousins, don't watch YouTube videos. They watch
a YouTube video of someone watching YouTube, video, like commenting on it, right? Or they don't watch people playing games. They watch someone talking about someone playing a game, and it's just like, this is insane, and it's just gotten even like more.
Dude,
right?
we're talking.
The Matrix has gotten deeper.
Yeah, and you can only imagine when it gets to some hardcore VR world. You ever see Ready Player One?
I don't know, but I know the concept. And I don't even want to imagine the world. I was listening to Joe Rogan talk to Mark Zuckerberg about VR stuff, Meta, all this stuff. To imagine a world, let's pretend for a second that I was in the UFC, right? And it's 2032, and you're telling me that you could be sitting here on a podcast, like talking to someone, doing like a fight podcast like Joe does, and have and have goggles on,
and we're like in the arena,
cage side, or like hovering above me. That makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm gonna be fighting like
someone's zooming in. They're like this close to your.
Like they're getting like really up in my face. I'm like, oh my god. Like,
and you can see his left cheek twitch here. You can tell he's insecure about what the other guy's doing.
Like, there's cameras everywhere. Is that how we're doing this? Like, am I just gonna look around, see camera lenses everywhere?
Dude, this is making me think: will the UFC of like 2040 or 2030 be? I mean, we're talking about Goku, Dragon Ball Z type shit. Will the UFC equivalent be where people are fighting like that? Like where you're flying around, Kamehameha, flying for a super elbow? Because like if VR gets that good, where I can literally just on command, now I'm flying around, now I'm fighting someone, and I can actually feel pain and get tired within this VR system.
Feel pain? That'd be crazy. That people aren't going to want to do that. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that will always stay true. The fighter. The gladiator will stay true from now through ever, because the minute someone can feel pain, they don't want to be a part of it.
Dude, if you were into the VR, like if you grew up when that was popular, I feel like you'd be the guy who turns the pain switch on.
yeah. But I'm saying like okay, throw me and any of the teammates at South Jersey on a headset where we actually are like, stepping in, throwing like punches and kicks. And we feel the pain. It's like whatever. Like we're used to this. Like this is a fight. But for some like a video game nerd who's sitting on his couch and he's like overweight and out of shape and out of breath already, and like he wants the first kick he takes, he'll be like, I hate this game, and take it off. And it's like the game's not gonna be popular. So what is popular is that guy gets to sit on his couch with his headset on,
World of Warcraft,
and
baby.
and watches. What I was saying earlier was apparently there's something where you're going to be able to watch, like if you were a fan, you could watch me fighting in the cage, but as if you were in the cage yourself, as if you were like, let's pretend the referee is wearing a headset that is recording.
I think I've actually seen videos like that
already, right? And it's like, and I don't know if they're video game based or an actual fight's going on, but it's just funny to me. Like, that's crazy to think, like, I'm in there doing my thing still, but does there have to be no crowd now? Because sitting in the crowd sucks at a cage fight, because there's a cage, first of all.
Yeah, literally.
And then sometimes there's pillars, and you're like, what the hell? Like, what kind of venue is this? And then you're, like, really far up in the nosebleeds, and you're seeing, like, two little figures go at it down there, like, and I'm like, do people pay for this still? And they're drinking beer, and, like, I guess it's like just going to a sports game or whatever. But in the same breath, if I told all these people they could buy, instead of the $55 ticket and the nosebleeds, and 3 of them for them and their kids, buy the headsets for like $100 a pop, plus $100 subscription.
Yeah.
They'd be like, okay.
Dude, imagine if they could put that
and they're
where
in the fight.
The fighter, you can see through the fighter. I saw this concept in a comic before, and I could see that I can feel everything the athlete's feeling, see what they're seeing, things along those lines. So, like, they would go through your eye. If you felt more anxiety, they would feel heightened anxiety. Like, they would literally live the fight through you.
I think people would be okay with everything except for the pain part.
Right? There would be some masochists out there, but a lot of people would be like, can I turn that knob down, please?
Yeah, to say I get punched in the face and they feel that, they're like,
especially when you're really tired, like, oh my God, why does my chest hurt like this?
Yeah. Oh, man, the tight chest feeling after you've like grappled for 3 minutes straight. Like,
Dude, talking about grappling, I'm thinking of like the Gordon Ryan, Don Hurd Death Squad. Because they're on the mat 365 days out of the year, right? Like 12-hour work days of just I'm training. But also, my understanding is if they have they'll do rest days where we're just grappling more lightly, working more on like watching video or doing slow techniques. But there's something interesting to that. Like we're keeping the momentum. Like you said, Goggins, like, well, maybe I'm gonna run 20 miles today, but I'm essentially walking. Like I'm power walking 20 miles.
This is gonna take all day for me because I'm gonna take it chill because I can't run 6-minute miles for 20 miles every day. And so that does happen in fighting. Like, man, there's days like I told this was like, I've had a hard week and I come in to train like before even going to MMA one night, I'm like, or it was Wednesday night before jiu-jitsu, I'm like, man, I worked out today, I ran, swam, this, that. I'm like, I'm beat up from last night. Like, it was a hard sparring session with some of the guys. Like, I don't really want to go. As I'm picking my bag up, walking out the door.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Because there's no not going.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go, there's something wrong. Like, you're really sick, you're really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real reason, usually, for a fighter to, like, not go. But there is always that one chance that's like, okay, I did have Sunday off and I was doing recovery stuff, but I went so hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that Thursday, it's only going to hurt me if I do too much.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to vocalize that and be like, okay, what am I going to do? Maybe we'll just literally, someone will hold noodles for you,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll punch noodles. So it's like low impacts, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no chance you're going to hurt your hands. Your shoulders might be tight. Try and loosen up, get nice and stretched out.
Mm-hmm.
Work combos. Think about what you want to do.
So you're talking about this physically, so I don't break myself physically. Do you ever do that so I don't break myself mentally? Like, I feel like I'm about to break my will. Like, this is just sucking so much. I don't want to fucking do this anymore.
No.
So I'll make it more enjoyable or... No?
No. I don't make fight camp more enjoyable. In fact, I'm kind of my training partner's mindset where, like, I don't like to do anything fun during camp.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's like, my family would be like, oh, it's fall, let's go to the farm, and I'm like, okay, because I love them and I want them to be happy, but I'm like, I really shouldn't be having fun, because then I'm gonna want an apple cider donut or something. Like, I like the misery, I like the grind aspect, because when you get to that fight, like, you put in all that work, and it was like this suffering that's like, now I'm taking it out on you, and
So,
I'm not weaker. Like, there's nothing that weakened me, right? So.
do you think there are enjoyable ways to train in fight camp?
Oh yeah. Like, if we want to do kicks and like someone wants to hold a pad up and like different spots, and like I want to try different kicks. There's some fun things. Having grappling is fun sometimes. It's not all so terrible, but there's not really much like benefit in making something like I'm not like miserable going to training, but I'm hyped up. I should be excited to like have that like the rush feeling of like, okay, we're about to go train, but especially if I'm sore, I know I'm sore from running and lifting, and then I have to go like try and beat Torrance or Chris in the takedown. Like, dude, that's not exciting. That's gonna be miserable, but it's gonna make my life hell of a lot easier in the cage when I have to take him down and I'm not sore, I'm not tired. Now he shouldn't be either. But who you train with, how are you training? How hard you pushing? How are you pushing when you don't want to train? Are you strategically taking that recovery time, right? You don't want to push yourself so hard like I have, where it's like you actually break, like hurt yourself in a way.
Oh,
like,
here's a big thing.
but-
Did we talk about this last time? Ice baths? and
Yeah,
sauna?
yeah, recovery stuff. I started doing sauna mostly for weight management, but I need to start incorporating ice bath, which I'm
dude,
gonna.
especially if you do them back and forth.
Yeah,
Heaven. Yeah, and you stop at a liquor store here, it's like $8 for 40 pounds of ice or something like that.
nice.
Yes. This is something I'm fucking curious about, because I'm always trying to figure out, okay, so you can be by yourself, you can practice moving around by yourself, you can practice striking by yourself, but it seems very difficult for me to practice dodging hits by myself. Like, do you have any ideas of like how you can create how you can create dodging practices by yourself?
Yeah, I mean they just call it shadow boxing. So like shadow wrestling is like imagining that person in front of you. Shadow boxing is the same thing, but like you're more so thinking about when they're gonna throw. So like if you're standing here and I know I want to like fake a right hand, and I think off of that they're gonna throw a right hand, I purposely dodge myself outside of their right hand. So you're constantly moving your head. You're pretending, actually throwing or pretending to throw, so that they do something, you react, and moving off of that. So it's really just part of it's imagination. The other thing is like doing it every time you throw a punch. So I started getting in the rhythm of like slipping different ways when I throw my jab, so that you can't tell exactly where I'm going to slip when I throw my jab. And the same thing for the like the right hand or an uppercut or like, and just like kind of, it's just head movement.
Cool.
Really.
I think I just need to get more sparring in so I can make my simulation more accurate. Because I've done equivalents like that with shadowboxing where I'm pretending as if someone's throwing this, that, or the other hit. But yeah, I think my simulation of the enemy isn't as accurate as it needs to be. But anyway, that's good to know.
I've also like developed little contraptions over time, like when I had more free time, to where like there might be a like a pool noodle if you can like get something to swing at you.
Yeah.
You know the water bags? So like you ever see like a heavy bag hanging? But you've seen a water bag, so it's like more round and looks like there's water in it, for boxers to hit uppercuts and stuff. Well, you take that and you can usually make like you take a small object, hang it, and then make it swing like a ball, whatever, and something maybe that if it does hit you, won't hurt too much.
Yeah.
And you swing it so that as it comes back, I'm moving my head, and I know it's coming back, so it comes on this side, and then I'm gonna like kind of move my head side to side, and sometimes I want to go under it.
Cool.
So if it's swinging this way, I want to step so that it swings this way, and I go under it, under it.
You ever see the contraption with like a tennis ball? On
Yeah, I have. I never got it, even though I was tempted to buy at one point,
right?
like when I was younger. I think it's one of those fad things. People have to be careful with what they train with, because like you can take a guy, and I firmly believe in sparring, especially up until you're like at a certain level of pro, because it's the best thing you can do to get ready or tell how you fight and how you can react, and if all your training's paying off. Because I can take one kid and have him like move his head around water bags, and I can take and have that punchy thing, and hit a heavy bag as hard as you can, and uppercut bag as hard as you can. Do all these things, right? Jump rope, teach him movement, and then you take another kid and have him spar every week, every other day, for 4 weeks. And if I have them fight, I'm gonna put $100 like all my money down on the kid who I had sparring every week.
Yeah, fair enough.
Because when shit hits the fan,
he knows what an actual human is like.
He'll probably just go like this, boom, get hit, and go ha, whap,
yeah,
and like just keep hitting the mic, but like bang, not hit the kid. The kid will be like, whoa, like what is that, right? So like he can move his head, he can throw punches from different stances, but like, is it, as Torrance would say, is it applicable?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other dude, he's been applying it every day. He might have not known anything on day one, but after 4 weeks of sparring kids, like 3, 4, 5 rounds a night, every other night, different kid every night.
Yeah.
He'll figure it out.
Got the important essence down.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful part of the human mind and body, and like how fighting is so natural to us, but it's like the least popular sport. Like, if we took the number of kids who play football in the United States, ages like 5 through 10, 7 through 15, we'll say, and then we take the number of kids who train a martial art or more, football players are going to be significantly greater. But the thing that's more natural is like, I could take 2 little kids and say wrestle.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll know exactly what to do. They'll be like, grab each other's legs, turn each other, get one kid on top, I'm winning. His mind says I'm winning. Kid on bottom's like, I'm losing. Natural.
You don't even have to teach them a rule set. Yeah, that's very true, man.
But if I said, throw a pass in the end zone, they'll be like, what?
Yeah, dude, now you're giving me flashbacks all the time. I'd play with my little cousins, and they'll just naturally want to grab pillows and just start pillow fighting. Yeah.
Kids naturally want to fight.
Yeah.
So I think
little boys that had little girls is funny.
But it's a bad thing to do, so I think it gets repressed a lot. And that's why me, like, growing up, I was scared to fight because I thought I'd get in trouble. It was less about getting my butt kicked, but, like, more about, like, getting in trouble. I didn't want to get in trouble. Then we get yelled at, then we look at as a bad kid, then we get, you know what I mean? So another reason I love it is because it gives me that. Literally, I'm signing up for something, and someone else signing up for something, and there's some middleman that's saying, You two are allowed to punch each other in the face. I'm like, no
Really?
way.
And like he's okay
Yeah,
with it?
He's cool with it. He's gonna try to hit me.
Uh-huh.
And you guys are all cool. My parents are gonna watch. They're not gonna yell at me. Like,
Whoa.
no one's gonna stop us.
Heaven's real.
Not unless only if he knocks me out or chokes me out,
Uh-huh.
or I get him. Okay. Sounds this finally.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I felt like that. Like I was like, man, I want to fight, but like I know I get in trouble.
Mhm.
Like, and I don't know why getting in trouble is so much worse to me than getting beat up.
It
But
might be like the thing where public speaking was more scary than actual fighting. Human
Yeah.
have these weird
yes, human mind
quirks
is
sometimes.
so weird.
Oh yeah, I understand. It's like the funny adage of a soldier, like, "Oh, talking to that beautiful girl is so much more terrifying than being in combat."
Seriously, that's a good way to look at it. It's funny.
All right. A nice closer question. I'm curious, what is a mistake you've made in life and a lesson you've learned from it? Yeah.
Oof.
Always fun stuff.
Not that one. I made too many mistakes, man. I don't even know if I can come up with one I can talk about on camera.
You're good. You're good.
A mistake I've made in life and a lesson I've learned from it.
So this one time I was doing crack with the hooker. No.
Yeah, right. No, just like not like a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
specific instance, but a mistake. I think a lot of people make in life is maybe trying to be someone else. In a way we talked about earlier, like not maybe like the mistake of putting too much pressure on yourself, trying to be or uphold something that isn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a mistake I made in life and in fighting and trying to fix. You know,
What do you think made it click that it was a mistake, that you're going too far down the route of unrealistic expectation?
What made it click? I think it's just a ton of things.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely clicked. It definitely clicked when I figured out that fighting aspect we're talking about, like who you are and what type of fighter you are, why you fight, right? And realizing like it's for me. And I think last time we talked about being more of your friend and trying to ease up on yourself, right? And that's something I've been trying to do for a long time now, and I'm trying to continue to do. But yeah, I mean, like, try not to make that mistake for the rest of my life. Not being who I am. 100%.
There's a I think a base for CIA agents, and there's this chalkboard wall, and the tradition is when the guys in the base get nice and drunk from a night of partying, they'll go in right on the wall. You have to write one thing that is like the most important thing to you in life, and then you have to circle it, and you have to draw a line and connect it to some other word or phrase on the wall and circle that. And as the story goes, essentially the entire wall is blanked out except for this one word, and it's blanked out because all the lines are going towards this one phrase, and that one phrase is self-respect. So
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting common theme that I've heard, whether in movies like Scott Pilgrim, where the sort of love he had for someone else was bested by his own sort of self-respect, and things along those lines. Like, I wonder if that's really the key to living a good life. Like, learn who you are, learn what respect is, and then learn to respect yourself.
So self-respect, and another big thing we hear today is self-love, which, you know, pretty self-explanatory, but I'm learning that part too. Figuring that out too.
Isn't it so funny? As you say the words, it's like a self-explanatory, like, oh yeah, I know what those things mean, but it's like, all right, do it. It's
Yeah.
like, huh, how do I
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Hey,
Fuck yeah.
good one. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Sam. Oh, and what's the name of your podcast?
Yeah, so the new podcast is Bull Talks podcast. So it's on Spotify, trying to get on Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts. But it's good so far. it was a little rough first one, but it did it in the car. Driving back from a 5 hour drive to Michael's fight.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect time. Me and Chris had a good talk about fighter mentality and things like that. So there's more to come. I have more fighters on there, but different people, different, kind of like you, like open platform, different professions and whatnot. But I also got, speaking of Bull, there's a really cool wine company called Kennedy Cellars in Hamilton, New Jersey. They just officially are sponsoring me now.
Hey, fuck yeah.
So, and that's a huge sponsorship for this fight and my pro debut. They're going to go all the way through to that. So they have a bull as their logo. So it's kind of like meant to be.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, they also do discount for veterans and stuff like that. So they're awesome. I plan to have a little after party or like meet and greet type thing there after at least one of the next fights. And then I also still have NFA. This is a nice little long sleeve shirt I got from them.
New Future Apparel.
Yeah, I got a code on there, the Bull 15, which gets everybody 15% off. And
Oh yeah, what's your Instagram?
Instagram, everything should be Sammy Bull 125 for 125. That'd be Instagram, Twitter. If you can't find me there, it's probably still 135. But yeah, check me out on all those.
Fuck it. Is that for your weight? I'm assuming the weight
Yeah,
you fight at.
yeah. So Instagram, TikTok, are basically and Twitter are basically the ones that have like fight stuff posted on. Facebook is like for family and old people.
All right. Peace out.